All right, hey everybody. Sorry we are a few minutes late. We had a travel delay, but it's good to be here at Tampa General. We thank them for hosting. CEO John Corus, thank you so much for always being a great host here. Today we're here to talk about an important topic. I'm joined by FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary, Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services Commissioner Wilton Simpson, our State Surgeon General Dr. Joe Latipo, the Dean of USF Health, Dr. Charles Lockwood, and the Associate Medical Director of Florida Poison Control, the Tampa Division, Dr. Corey Howard. So today we're here to announce that we are taking emergency action in the Office of Attorney General to prohibit and reschedule as a Schedule 1 drug something called 7-OH. 7-hydroxy. This is a somewhat new synthetic material. It is extracted from kratom, which is a leaf from, I believe, Southeast Asia, and it is chemically manipulated in a way where it's very dense, and actually, I'm told by medical experts, can be up to 13 times more potent than morphine. So it is a significant painkiller. It has been proven to be highly addictive and easily can be overdosed. So it's very dangerous. We've seen it marketed and targeted to kids. As you know from my priorities that I've talked about over the last 6 months, protecting our kids is number one. We want to make Florida the safest place to raise a family. And we are taking emergency action now because we see immediate danger. Last week, the FDA Commissioner issued a warning about 7-OH, putting people on notice to the dangers, calling on states to observe and take action where necessary. So here in Florida, we are not going to rest on our laurels. We move fast, as you know. We want to help lead the way when it comes to public safety. So we have promulgated this emergency rule today that will go into effect immediately. Commissioner Simpson actually, as a state senator, I think about 10 years ago or so, sponsored the bill that gave the Attorney General's office the ability to engage in this emergency rulemaking. It's not something that happens often. It really does need to be a true public health emergency, and 7-OH presents that threat that we want to address immediately. The legislature, I hope, will take the time to do a deep dive. There's certainly a lot we do not know about kratom and this specific extract that is highly potent. I hope they will take a hard dive, and they obviously are the final legislative body when it comes to finalizing restrictions, regulations, and so forth. So I'm very honored to be joined by our FDA Commissioner today. President Trump has built a great team and put solid people in the right positions. It's refreshing that when we're talking about scientific areas, we now have people that actually rely on science and are not just projecting unscientific mandates and philosophies, but are looking at evidence and science and common sense. And I appreciate the Commissioner's leadership here, recognizing the threat to public safety and our kids. So I will turn it over to him.
Great. Thank you, Attorney General Uthmeier. It's great to be here in Florida, and it's great to see so many people doing good work here at Tampa General Hospital. Thank you, John Corus, for hosting us here. And it's interesting, Mr. Simpson, you've been working on this for a long time, and this has really been the work of many people over several years to say, hey, there's something going on. It's off the radar of the medical establishment, and we need to figure out what it is. And we're talking about 7-OH. Sometimes we need to challenge deeply held assumptions in the field, such as the self-claim made by the synthetic concentrated manufacturers of 7-OH that it's good for you. It's got all sorts of benefits. Well, we've got to challenge deeply held assumptions, and you're lucky to have a Surgeon General who is not afraid to challenge deeply held assumptions. We've been burned by medical groupthink in the past, be it groupthink on how to prevent peanut allergies in kids by telling them to avoid peanut butter in the first couple years of life, which actually increased the risk of peanut allergies, or medical groupthink when it came to prescription opioids are fine, they're safe, they're not addictive. I grew up with that dogma. Turns out there was someone like Mr. Simpson who challenged that His name is Dr. Art Van Lee, an internist, who in the 1990s said, no, wait a minute, my patients are getting addicted to oxycodone. And this dogma needs to be challenged. He petitioned the FDA to stop. He thinks we at the FDA contributed to the problem. I agree with him. And he wrote letters to Purdue Pharma saying, wait a minute, these claims are not true. They're not supported with what he's seeing on the ground. Well, we have to be proximate to what's happening on the ground. We cannot live in the ivory tower of the ruling class of the United States. I've come from academia. We've got to be in the vape stores. We've got to understand what kids are taking, what they experience, and what the medical effects are. Let me read for you something that's hard to read, but I'm going to read it for you because I think it's important. As the Attorney General just said, 2 weeks ago, the FDA announced in a giant project in the Trump administration led by Secretary Kennedy that we are going to go hard at the opioid epidemic in all of its forms, in all of its disguises. It was disguised as prescription drugs that could help you with chronic, mild lower back pain. And now it's disguised as synthetic concentrated 7-OH. It was disguised as fentanyl, as an additive agent. Well, we can't get caught flat-footed again after hundreds of thousands of children have died. Immediately after we did the event 2 weeks ago, taking action to initiate the process to schedule synthetic concentrated 7-OH as a controlled substance in the United States, I got this communication from a very prominent person in the United States. Please tell the FDA Commissioner and RFK and others who participated in the press conference yesterday how personally, deeply grateful we are for their works on 7-OH. We tragically lost my stepson to 7-OH last Sunday. Although he had struggled with addiction for many years, he was completely clean for 5 months. He had a job that he loved, and they loved him. He attended church every week, and he was being taught by missionaries. In fact, in his last conversation, it was with missionaries before taking 2 7-OH pills before going to sleep, never to wake up. As I said, he was clean and free of addictions other than his vape pen. He called me on May 31st to tell me he had stopped at the vape shop to buy a vape and was offered a fruity pill and was told that it was kratom. He said that he took the pill and became addicted and that he should have done his research. He died the night he took 2 20-milligram 7-OH pills. The wrapper was at his bedside. There were no other drugs or alcohol in the house. We are very focused on eliminating 7-OH so no mother has to go through the pain and agony she is feeling. Please let the team know that they can count on us to fight this monster in any way, including attending press events or testifying. It must be taken from the retail shelves as soon as possible. This is not just like an opioid. It does not just have opioid binding properties. It is not just a agonist on the mu receptor. It is an opioid. It is scientifically meeting the criteria of an opioid, and yet you can go in a vape shop in America, almost on any corner, and buy it like a cup of coffee. We have to be proximate to what is happening right in front of us. We got burned with fentanyl. We got burned with prescription drugs. We cannot get behind the 8 ball again. This may be the fourth wave of the opioid epidemic. Concentrated synthetic 7-OH may be the fourth wave of the opioid epidemic. I hope it's not. I hope we're wrong. But why not be proactive instead of reactive? So for that reason, I applaud Florida and this administration, Attorney General Uthmeier, and all the folks standing here with me for taking strong action to not only legally address concentrated synthetic 7-OH as an opioid, but also to educate churches and synagogues and other houses of worship and school boards and parents and doctors. Very few doctors that I talked to, including my own doctor friends, even have ever heard of 7-OH or its many nicknames like 7-omega or 7-hydroxymetragenine or MIT or an enhanced kratom. This is not enhanced kratom. Our focus is not on the kratom leaf. Our focus is not on kratom. There's the kratom leaf, which has trace amounts of 7-OH. And then there is synthetic concentrated kratom, which is popping up in vape stores all over America, and we need to know what's going on. This is part of a broader strategy that we are taking in the Trump administration to end port shopping of illegal vape products. 80 to 85% of the vape products in these vape stores in America are illegal. They've been doing port shopping. Most of these products come from China, where they're banned for Chinese kids, but they're on almost every corner in the United States. We're going to end port shopping. They're laughing at us. We turn them away at the port, goes back on the ship, they go to the next port. The companies who make these products are laughing at the United States. Well, no more. We're going to stop port shopping. We've sent letters to the distributors that they are distributing an opioid dangerous substance. We've got to get to the distribution networks. We are addressing the retail fronts, and we took action to initiate scheduling. The opioid crisis is not over just because there's other news. We have to remember that perhaps 1 million Americans have died because we were doing too little, too late. So with that, thank you again for having me here, and you have the full support of the FDA, and appreciate all the actions and the work here at Tampa General Hospital. Thank you.
You see these smoke shops, vape stores, hemp stores, you see them oftentimes popping up near schools, near universities, near high schools, and we see advertising and marketing that is clearly focused on kids, mimicking candies and colorful wrappings and things like that. And our office, our state, is not going to tolerate it. We've certainly fought this in many contexts, and including the vape context. And as you see these chemically enhanced, powerful synthetic drugs being marketed to kids, and kids vaping throughout the day, they're sneaking it into schools, frying brain cells. You just wonder, how are we going to beat our adversaries like China if our next generation is drugged up on all these products? So we're going to protect our kids. We're going to take it seriously. We're going to continue to crack down. And Commissioner Simpson has been spearheading a lot of the takedowns of these illicit, harmful products that are hurting our kids. And I know we'll continue to do so. So I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you. And thank you for having me here today, Attorney General. And, it's a great opportunity for this day. This day is a long day coming. General Uthmeier, I commend you for this first bold step on an important issue impacting thousands of lives. A few years ago, FDACS raised the alarm on kratom. We were not able to get the support we needed during the Biden administration to treat 7-OH as a Schedule I drug, but we were able to prohibit the sale and marketing to Florida's children. Unfortunately, this drug is not just harmful to our children. A few months ago, we began to see movement like never before with President Trump's administration to raise concern about the 7-OH. There's no doubt that our country was slow to act on the opioid crisis and the ideal of addiction and the death of tens of thousands of Americans and tragedy for hundreds of thousands of impacted family members. We should have acted more quickly, more aggressively then. Fortunately, President Trump, the FDA, and our state leaders are not repeating history. I am proud to be part of the bold, forward-thinking leadership to ban 7-OH from the state of Florida. General Uthmeier, this is an outstanding emergency rule. Thank you for drawing a line in the sand and giving the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services this much-needed tool to stop the sale of vape shop morphine. And let me be clear, we are going to aggressively pursue this issue and issue stop sales immediately. There are over 5,000 stores across the state that have been selling this drug. We have fielded complaints but not have been able to act. That ends today. This action is a wonderful, but it is only temporary. We will need more action by the state and the federal government. I am confident together we will have success. Street-level drugs hurt families, ruin lives, create victims, destroy our economy, and wreak havoc on our state. Today we fight back with the force of law through this emergency order. Today we make Florida and our families a little safer. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Commissioner, and a man that needs no introduction, Surgeon General Joe Latipo.
All right, thanks, James. Thanks. Well, good afternoon, everyone. And, it's always nice to do press conferences with your friends. So Attorney General Uthmeier is a very, very good friend of mine. I cut my teeth with him in the early part of my job here, particularly when things were more intense and with sort of COVID fights, if you will. And also, absolutely, FDA Commissioner Makary, who I've known for some years, and we've crossed paths a lot, and brilliant guy. You should check it, read his books. I mean, he's a brilliant guy. Commissioner Wilton Simpson also, who's done a lot of great work here in Florida. Our leaders here at the university and the affiliated university and the hospital here in Tampa. So it's great that we have a terrific team here about this. And there are a lot of things happening, and I think that it's important. It's one of the interesting things about leadership is knowing when to act and knowing when to wait and gather more information. And our Attorney General has, he's voiced an intent to act, and in fact, he has acted. The emergency order is in effect as of today. Our FDA Commissioner, the Trump administration, is also moving to act very quickly. And this is one of those situations where fast action is right action, and it needs to be fast and ferocious. This is, so kratom is used by a lot of people, and, there's the issue, and I'll come to this in a moment, but there's the issue of why folks pursue different types of substances. I personally, I've had loved ones, very close loved ones, who have suffered tremendously. I'm sure every single person here knows someone, if they themselves have not experienced it, in situations where our traditional Western medicine system is inadequate. For acute illness, we are the cream of the cream. But for chronic diseases, for chronic illnesses, for all the fatigue and anxiety and chronic pain and suffering that people experience out there, Western medicine often doesn't offer very much. We have the same set of labs that we've been using for decades. You look at them, well, Mr. Pete, everything looks fine. Your chemistries look fine. Your cell counts look fine. But clearly the patient is not fine. So I'm very supportive of people seeking alternatives outside of traditional Western medicine for wellness. The problem here is, our problem is, as the FDA Commissioner Makary stated, our problem here is not with kratom. The problem today is with this 7-OH. We don't need any more substances that disconnect people from reality. We are in a period of time where, unfortunately, people are checking out of reality all the time, with all sorts of different substances. All of that is, it impoverishes us as human beings. I mean, it makes us weaker in every possible way. It makes us physically weaker. It makes us emotionally weaker. It makes us spiritually weaker. And it makes us more vulnerable to manipulation. The nonsense that we saw in terms of, not letting people say bye to loved ones during the pandemic, or in terms of forcing masks on little children, or in terms of saying that it was okay for kids to sit for hours in front of computer screens for something that really was no riskier for them than other conventional risks that they encounter every day. That nonsense would not have been possible if so many of us weren't disconnected from the reality, from our relationship with God, the universe, earth, the trees, the beaches, the water, the wind, the things that make us human and facilitate our connection with the earth and God and each other. None of that nonsense would have been possible. And these drugs, like 7-OH, which, as the FDA commissioner said, it is an opioid. And it's more than that because it acts on other receptors too. But make no mistake, this is something that is absolutely addictive and will kill people and will kill more people because of the fact that people, I don't know why people will go into a gas station and buy a drug, but because of the fact that people have ready access to it. So fast, swift, ferocious action here is absolutely, positively appropriate. The other part of this is why people are even seeking this out. And, that's one of the things I think about as Surgeon General. What are these, what are the forces that are leading so many people to, want to check out, to want to be disconnected? The demand part is a major part of this, and that's a challenge for each and every one of us to to think about. I've done a lot of work in that area outside of my Surgeon General role, but that in fact is probably the biggest challenge because it's 7-OH today, it'll be something else tomorrow, and something else after that. So this will be an unending challenge to continue to subvert our connection to our humanity, our connection to our spirituality, our connection to each other, and that it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and no, the AI isn't helping. The phones don't help. All the technology that's in our face doesn't help. The social media doesn't help. None of that helps. So that's really the ultimate challenge for us. And it, again, 7-OH is just one step on that journey. But it's actually I think the greatest challenge that we face as a race, as a human race. So thanks again, Attorney General.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, as we hear more about 7-OH, it's clearly something more potent than morphine that should not be sitting on a shelf next to a pack of Skittles. So we're going to remove that immediately. And we have heard from over 55 counties in the state, so a large supermajority, that have all reported heightened emergency room visits, heightened hospitalizations, heightened adverse health reactions because of this new synthetic product. So it's clearly an immediate public health emergency. So to get more into the specifics there, we'll turn it over to the Dean of USF Health, Dr. Charles Lockwood.
Well, thank you. And first of all, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Secretary and Attorney General. This is really, really an important issue. And the speed with which you've acted is exemplary and refreshing, frankly. So we're here really to talk about the FDA's warnings about 17-OH and the actions that are about to be taken by the Attorney General. As has been mentioned, 17-OH is a potent opioid-like agent. It's normally found in very low concentrations in the plant kratom. But the plant can be modified chemically to create this much, much more potent agent that binds to the receptors that opioids bind to and induces all of the classic characteristics of addiction. So it relieves pain, it gives euphoria, it creates a tolerance. It can be a respiratory depressant, and obviously it's now been associated with overdose deaths. You just heard of one. And it will have withdrawal symptoms. It's a classic opioid. And it has kind of appeared surreptitiously in settings like restaurants, or rather gas stations and convenience stores, in gummies and drinks. But it's 13 times more potent than morphine. So just imagine, a teenager going in and buying a gummy that is 13 times more potent than morphine. So this is obviously a major problem. I'm obviously deeply grateful that we're acting on this. I think some of the themes you already heard, this could have been the next wave of the opioid epidemic. I think if other states follow our action, I'm sure they will, I hope they will, we can stop this. But in 2000, our opioid crisis peaked. We had 6,000 opioid deaths. It's been dropping ever since. We're very proud of the actions taken by our state and the federal government, but this represents a clear and present danger to that really refreshing improvement in this scourge that this country has seen for decades, and you heard comments made about it as well. You're going to hear from our poison information expert about how this presents to him, but clearly there is no business having this drug on the shelves of convenience stores and gas stations. And so again, I'm so proud of the state, once again, as we were in the pandemic, being proactive and taking practical, useful steps to protect our citizens.
So last but not least, the Associate Medical Director of the Florida Poison Control, the Tampa Division, Dr. Corey Howard.
So I'll try not to overlap too much with Dr. Lockwood. Great minds think alike, right? So I'm Corey Howard. I'm one of the medical directors of Poison Control. I'm also an emergency medicine physician. So I had the opportunity to see this firsthand as well with patients that have already had probably 4 patients, both in the consult service and in the emergency room over the past 2 weeks. So I'm seeing this firsthand pop up. So 7-hydroxymetragenine, or what is being denoted as 7-OH, is a dangerous substance because of what we talked about, high potency and immediate dose availability, right? Previous precursors to this have been dose related to where metabolism would take hours to reach this high concentration of 7-OH, right? This is a highly active alkaloid, high risk of addiction, high risk of respiratory suppression, compromise, failure, and overdose death. I'm really sorry to hear about your loved one. So most consumers don't even realize the danger of the product, right? They can easily access it on stores, shelves, gas stations, right? I've seen this pop up in tablets, gummies, candy lookalikes, drink mixes, teas, shots, wellness supplements, right? I personally have seen this show up at the gym, at my local gym, being passed around as a wellness supplement or to get over arthritis or, kind of help that fatigue after a strong workout, and trying to educate people that that's very dangerous, right? So, all right. This is a grave misconception, right? So we're seeing this a lot. Florida Poison Control received 191 calls during the last year, exposures to the parent molecule of metragenine. This is up 14% increase over the last 3 months, directly attributable to 7-OH. So we're going to beat that this year on this trend. All right. I think the biggest thing to take from this is the confusion of the substance is that it is in fact an unregulated dangerous drug, can be purchased even from a gas station. And we are seeing a bimodal age distribution from very young exposures with respiratory compromise to even our geriatric population. Not knowing what it is. I'm seeing this even show up in truck drivers, trying to use it as a wellness supplement, trying to stay awake, not realizing that they're going to come into the ER a couple days later, weeks later, with dealing with opioid addiction, and that are even warranting buprenorphine and other adjuncts for opioid withdrawal treatment. So it is severe. So again, just wanted to say, very grateful to be welcomed up here. I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing. I think we're going to make a difference. Thank you.
So again, in Florida, we don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. We're going to act. There's certainly a lot still unknown, and the discussions will continue both at the federal level and amongst our state leaders. But seeing the dangers facing our populations, especially our kids, we're going to act today with the emergency rule and make sure we're getting these harmful products off the shelves. I want to thank President Trump and the Trump administration for their commitment to public safety, FDA Commissioner for coming in person and being here, for the leadership they're taking, again, in protecting our families from dangerous products, especially when many of these products are coming from our enemy, China. So with that said, I know we got a couple flights our guests have to take, but I think we had time for a few questions if people have them. Yeah.
With that emergency action, is it just illegal to sell or is it illegal to possess as well?
We will publish the emergency rule. I don't want to state wrong. There is a specific process, where people can dispose of product, but we certainly are prohibiting it from the shelves effective immediately.
The commissioner said hundreds of thousands of kids have died because of this opioid. Can you talk about the data specifically to the state of Florida?
I'm probably not the best expert. I'll let you talk a little more broadly on
Yeah,
it.
so I was referring to hundreds of thousands of kids have died from opioids. And we don't have good statistics on how many people have died from concentrated 7-OH, which is part of the problem. And so we sometimes tend to think of only, what we have statistics on, what an NIH grant has funded, what a survey has collected, and we just haven't had research in this. So we don't know how many young people have died from 7-OH. But the time to do an emergency action, as Florida is doing, is not after hundreds of thousands of kids have died. It's before. So I'm hoping that that will help prevent some of the deaths. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, this is a new product. I believe the record keeping on this began just this past February. So we're certainly seeing increases in hospitalizations and adverse health effects. We will continue to study the data, but as the commissioner said, we're not going to wait. We're going to try to save lives on the front end.
As you're doing this right now, do you think that it'll be expanded in the future to include kratom?
Right now, this is focused on the highly concentrated, extracted version. I know the legislature has had lots of discussions over the last couple of years on hemp and kratom. I would expect that to continue, but as far as this emergency action, this is focused on 7-OH particularly. Anybody else?
Do reversal agents work like they do for overdoses of other narcotics?
They do, and based on the data we know of the binding affinity of this.
Repeat the question. Just so
Oh,
we can-
sorry. So he was asking, do reversal agents like naloxone work the same as other opioids? The good thing is, theoretically they will, be based on binding affinities. That things like naloxone actually binds tighter, probably, or competitively than things like 7-OH. So I would still recommend that.
I know different states have taken different measures against kratom, but is Florida the first to take measures against 7-OH? And I also got a few emails this morning about people that oppose this. They say that 7-OH has been shown to wean people off of opioid addiction. Is there anything behind that?
I'll start with the first part. Other states have done various things to regulate hemp and kratom. Different states have different authorities. Not all states have the emergency rulemaking authority that our state has to put things on a Schedule I controlled substance list. So I know we are the first state to act, certainly since the FDA issued the warning back a couple weeks ago. As far as, weaning people off, potentially there are health uses, certainly for kratom, maybe 7-OH, but again, that's with a prescription, a doctor's order, good medical advice, not at the 7-Eleven sitting next to a pack of Skittles. We do not want kids to just have open access to this, given the power and the potency. So I would leave it to our experts in the medical community to further analyze, the potentially positive health impacts, certainly of kratom as a whole. Again, this is not prohibiting kratom. This is a very highly concentrated, chemically enhanced product. But for today, we're going to protect our kids. Time for one or two more? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please.
I was a surgeon at Johns Hopkins for 22 years and gave opioids to patients I should have never given opioids to, and gave patients too many opioids when I should have given them fewer opioids. I was following the medical dogma, the groupthink that Dr. Latipo talked about with COVID. And it was this, you can't question this letter in the New England Journal that said out of 30,000 patients, only one got addicted from opioids, and that became dogma. And so I feel terrible that I prescribed opioids to people who I shouldn't. I had some patients transition themselves to heroin on the street because they couldn't afford the copay of oxycodone. And so they may have found that to be, a path for them, but There are no clinical trials on concentrated 7-OH. There is, to be clear, no FDA-approved 7-OH gummy, candy, or drink. Anything on the shelves that is a 7-OH food, supplement, or drink is not legal. And so we want to get the word out. I think a lot of this is just a lack of awareness about the problem. So we're going to do everything we can to try to educate families so we don't have situations like the situation I read where a family lost one of their kids. Thanks for the question.
One more?
I'll throw out another question for Surgeon General Latipo. Yesterday you tweeted support for Floridians to consume raw milk. Obviously people have gotten sick. What do you think the benefits are for raw milk, and do you see any legalization process for human consumption of raw milk in the near future?
So I don't want to take it, pardon me. So the question the reporter is asking for where she can purchase some raw milk. So I don't want to take away attention from what we're here for today, but I'd be happy to speak with you after the event.
Sure,
so, yeah.
How soon does this go into effect? This goes into effect immediately, so enforcement could begin as early as tomorrow morning. I think we got one final one in the bag.
What happens if stores still have this on their shelves? What are the repercussions?
Yeah, you want to talk about this?
So the question is, what is the repercussions if stores still have this product on their shelves? And what I would tell everyone listening here today is to get it off your shelves. You will be seeing our folks in the coming days, and we will seize these products. We've already seized over 1 million products that was hemp products that were targeting our children illegally. We were going to be very aggressive after not only protecting our children in this case, but following the emergency order of the Attorney General. So if you have these products, I would go ahead and remove them. I would get them out of the state of Florida, because when we come visit you, that you will get a stop sale, and then that process will happen. If we catch you again, clearly there will be other actions taken to enforce this law against those owners.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you being here.